Anyway, the problem here in this instance, as it is always the case, is not about political violence only being one directional, even though if you were to look at it as a one directional thing, you would realize that that direction is not left-wing violence. Here's a great example of this that also took place over the weekend when Axios came out with a report that the Department of Homeland Security itself actually fucking identified. The White House Deputy Press Secretary, sorry. Here it is. The White House Deputy Press Secretary looked at this graph and thought those gray bars are totally fine. Everyone will understand that only the yellow ones are a problem. Left and right-wing U.S. terrorism attacks, U.S. domestic terrorism attacks. Study, left-wing terrorism climbs to 30-year high. The gray bars are right-wing instances of terror. Annually from 1994 to 2025. The yellow bar is what they've declared is left-wing terrorism. The White House Deputy Press Secretary looked at this graph and thought those gray bars are totally fine. Everyone will understand that only the yellow ones are a problem. And the issue is, as I also called out, Republicans do think that. It's quite remarkable that political polarization and anti-intellectualism has made it so that you can directly stare at a chart that shows that the overwhelming majority of domestic terrorists come from the right, and people will still believe the opposite claim. It's fucking insane. I recall the way that partisanship and anti-intellectualism was actually running amok during the COVID era when COVID first began. And Donald Trump would come out and be like, well, Barack Obama also mishandled the swine flu. Dog, the swine flu killed less people than COVID had at that point. Democrats are supposed to be the ones who actually make this false equivocation, this false equivalency between swine flu and COVID, and say Barack Obama handled swine flu perfectly well, and that's the reason why swine flu didn't kill as many people as COVID is doing. And yet it didn't fucking matter. Nothing matters. Do you understand? Like, Republicans can use a false equivalence that actually doesn't even favor them in the argument, that actually dunks on them as an own just by simply mentioning it as a Republican. That's it. Under normal circumstances, it would be the Democrats that said swine flu killed less than COVID. This would be a false equivalence that the Democrats are using in an insincere manner. Yet Donald Trump literally did that as though somehow this was a way to fucking destroy the Democrat position. People, please read this comment. People misread the graph thinking the yellow is taller than the gray boxes instead of understanding that the yellow bar sits on top of the gray bar. Please make this clear. Oh, that's why they're misunderstanding it? Yeah, no, that's not the case. Here's an even better version of that graph. Hold on. This, okay? Figure 4, left-wing versus right-wing terrorist attacks and plots in the United States from 1994 to 2025. Here's a better fucking graph. Perhaps it's because I know what the truth is that immediately when I saw that graph, I understood exactly what that graph was presenting, but I can understand why people would think that like left-wing violence is more than right-wing in this graph. It doesn't matter though. Abigail Jackson, the fucking White House Deputy Press Secretary, should know better. Ay, ay, ay. I already covered Laura Loomer immediately lying about it. The misinformation environment is tuned up to 11 at this point, and people just like straight up lie instantly after any sort of fucking breaking news story to be first to market.
Went into it, whether he left a note, all of those questions have yet to be answered.
President Trump echoed that sentiment in a Truth Social post, in which he wrote, "This appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians in the United States. This epidemic of violence in our country must end immediately."
Yeah, also, the main chud talking point is that the shooter donated to Act Blue. These guys are so fucking stupid. He did the same thing with Ryan Ruth. Here it is. And you know what's really sinister about this, for the record? Sanford Thomas J, right? Act Blue, Act Blue, Act Blue. Yeah, that's the wrong fucking guy. And these pieces of shit actually deleted the part. They cut this in a way that shows where, in a way that doesn't show where the donations were made. Because if you knew what state the donations were made, you would recognize that this is a different Thomas J. Sanford, because the Thomas J. Sanford that donated Blue Origin Political Action Committee was doing that donation in Virginia. The Thomas J. Sanford that shot up the church was in Michigan, and he was 100% a Trump supporter, by the way. It's so fucked up how much these guys just lie, dude. It is so crazy. Mormon church shooting suspect at Trump sites outside of his home, by the way. Google Maps images show that the suspect who was shot dead by the police at Trump sign outside of his Michigan house. You want to know how they tried to fucking make this work, by the way? Here, I'll show you. That's a Trump and Vance sign, okay? Or a Trump Pence sign, or is it a Trump Vance sign? One or the other. Anyway, they tried to claim that this fucking stop sign was actually saying stop Trump, as though this wasn't a regular stop sign on Google Maps, but instead they were trying to say that he was trying to make a political statement about stop Trump. That's what they tried to fucking claim. I'm so done, dude. I'm so fucking done. People are so insane nowadays, man. They are so fucking stupid. What do you do with these people?
Calls started coming in and took out the suspect in about 8 minutes. Detectives are reportedly probing
Yeah, he was
whether
wearing
the
the
mass
shirt.
shooting and fire has
Yeah, he was wearing this shirt on his Facebook. They found it. And then obviously, Republican psychos immediately claimed this was a Photoshop. And then they Photoshopped the shirt without this on it and claimed that was the real shirt. How do we fucking fix this? All you liberals do is cry nonstop and violent as fuck. Oh my God. Yeah, anyway, if you want to see his fucking Facebook, LDS church shooter Thomas Jacob Sanford and his entire family aren't just Trump supporters. They're hardcore MAGA conspiracy lunatics. His Facebook is still up. The thread will be screenshots of their MAGA posts and pictures from Facebook. Kids' faces are grayed out. Anti-masker. This is how the crazy left will go without power. Imagine them with power. Posting Jesse Waters. Posting Turning Point USA. 4 common causes of headaches. Loud noises, bright lights, ear infections. Arguing with leftists. All aboard the Trump train. That's Brenda, Walter, Sanford. Join a great group of guys. Lincoln, Teddy, Ike, Reagan, Trump. Here's that famous veteran that went viral. We're not going to be peaceful much longer. Video shows fed up vet. Savaging. Thomas Jacob Sanford and his family didn't just post about Trump and MAGA on their Facebook. They went to rallies and demonstrated, of course. Here's Brenda Walters Sanford. COVID-19 vaccines use aborted fetal tissue. My body, my choice. How can anyone deny he is right wing? Because people are just stupid and biased. There's no other way to explain it. They're just on permanent cope. They're just permanently in a state of copium. Anyway, that's why your commitment to the truth, as with the Charlie Kirk suspect Groyper stuff, was so important. I will obviously, even if it's someone who has like left adjacent values or views or whatever in the aftermath of a shooting or anything like that, I'm obviously still going to dive deep into what the actual truth is and try to pick apart all of the partisan misinformation vectors, which unfortunately have become all too common. So much so that people literally now present it on Wall Street Journal and shit like that. It's so fucked up.
Mass shooting over the weekend. Yes, there was.
Here's the other mass shooting that took place in North Carolina. This was an Iraqi sniper who was shot in the head in a friendly fire incident and had a traumatic brain injury and most likely PTSD as a direct consequence of that incident, who thought LGBT and Jeffrey Epstein was trying to get him to kill himself through coded messages and numbers. Yeah, he thought that LGBT white supremacists were trying to murder him for being straight. Another far-right anti-queer mass shooting this weekend. Late last year, Nigel Max Edge filed a lawsuit alleging that a cabal of LGBT white supremacists and pedophiles were trying to murder him because he's a straight man. The suit was dismissed earlier this summer. Yeah, he rolled up to a North Carolina restaurant on his boat and shot people and killed 3.
There's another mass shooting in this country. This one in Southport, North Carolina. Police say the man pulled up to a dock on a boat and opened fire on a restaurant. 3 people were killed there, 5 others were injured. And once again, we do not know the motive here. Skylar Henry has the story.
We do know the motive. He was just fucking insane.
Coming from a subject on the boat, possibly in the Southport Marina.
A Saturday night out in Southport, North Carolina, turned deadly.
At least 6 people down.
A gunman on a boat armed with an assault rifle opened fire on diners at the American Fish Company, a popular pub known for its live music and waterfront views.
Wait, how do you know he was insane? Did you not hear what I just said? He thought that a cabal of elite pedophile LGBTQ white supremacists were trying to communicate to him through coded messages. I think the number that he kept repeating was 122 or something. He would see 122, and that was an indication that this cabal was trying to get him to kill himself. He also was shot in the fucking head. Friendly fire. It seems like he was schizophrenic. Doesn't take much to assume that this is the workings of a schizophrenic person.
Observed a boat sitting out front, which was just odd that he's sitting right there.
Nearby business owner Todd Weaver says he spotted the boat hours before the shooting.
I hunkered against that wall. Everybody else was running out. And I called 911 as fast as I could.
Police allege the suspected shooter is 40-year-old Nigel Edge, a combat veteran with PTSD. Investigators claim Edge fled the scene by boat shortly after 10 p.m. and headed towards Oak Island, a nearby coastal town where he lives. The Coast Guard later arrested Edge at a public ramp. Investigators say it was a targeted and highly premeditated attack. Authorities say many of the victims were there on vacation.
The thread that connects everyone who's a victim in this case to this point just appears to be a love of having a good time and enjoying all that Southport has to offer.
Another leftist anti-fascist, of course. Better luck next week, I guess, for the FBI. Not that it fucking matters. Obviously, the way that the administration is treating this shit is, oh, well, what are you going to fucking do about it? This is why I get very frustrated with the partisan politics of this kind of stuff, where I say violence is a constant in the American day-to-day existence, and that if you were to look at this from a framework of political violence, it's very clear that like right-wingers are responsible for the large share of political violent incidents and acts of domestic terror. Having said that, this is a constant in the American condition, and there is a higher priority that must be solved here, a higher issue, which is access to weapons, an arsenal of weaponry. That's what the major fucking, that's the major factor here, okay? The common factor is guns.
American Fish Company, at one point the backdrop for the 2013 film Safe Haven. As for the suspect in this case, Nigel Edge, he is facing numerous charges, including 3 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted first-degree murder, and 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. Nate.
This morning, after his pressure campaign.
Anyway, yeah, Donald Trump says there's more smoke for others as well. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. Left Gumman is the rhetoric that's causing this. Right Gumman, he was just mental. I know, because the goal here, and it's unfortunate that the Democrats don't realize this or don't even fucking message against this, because they've completely given up on trying to fix any of this shit. But the goal here is very obviously to stamp out any sort of political dissent. And the Republicans are trying to design yet another hysterical narrative. The hysterical narrative here is that leftist Antifa violence is super commonplace. It's happening all the time. We have to put an end to it. We have to put a stop to it. Even though, I think it's like infantile to analyze violence in this country from the perspective of political rhetoric. But even if we were to do so, it's additionally stupid to assume that it's actually the left that's responsible for a large share of the violent political incidents. It's just objectively untrue. It's never been the fucking case. Both of these shootings could most likely be solved with adequate access to mental health treatments and also not allowing people with severe mental illness to have guns. They were veterans, so they were allowed to have them. Veterans are some of the worst people to give weapons to. Let's be real, because a big chunk of them have PTSD and suicidal tendencies. There's a reason why there is the number 22 a day, right? Access to weapons makes it much easier to actually successfully commit suicide. Who am I even talking to? It doesn't even fucking matter. There's no solution to this shit. Come on, let's be fucking real. Is back up to more than 22 a day, by the way? Of course. Yeah, 2 mass shootings by Iraq war veterans in one day. People fought so hard to stop that war. Not only because they cared about foreigners, but because wars always come home, says John Schwartz. Ultra-violence like the Iraq war is like a football covered in razor blades, bouncing through history forever in ways no human can foresee. Today, it sliced apart 4 people in Michigan and 3 in North Carolina. This is what I tried to present as well. Like, if you normalize ultra-violence of this sort and you get Americans more comfortable with the idea that the only solution to every single problem is just by fucking killing people, you know, putting bodies in graves, then that violence is inevitably going to come back to the home front. And here we are. And the VA solution to veterans killing themselves with guns is it's tragic comedy. Their solution is, oh, veterans are killing themselves with guns a lot, okay? So here, we'll just give them a fucking gun lock. That's literally their solution. Because when you have a gun lock in a gun safe with photos of your loved ones in said gun safe, the time it takes for you to take the gun out before you fucking kill yourself will allow you to reconsider. That's literally it. That's their solution. Fucking awesome. What a country. Yeah, I'm the one who doesn't give a fuck about veterans, right? Not the American government.